Okay, so here's something that I was gonna learn jujitsu because I was thinking like my teacher didn't teach me hugging and kissing, aka grappling, and so the hugging and kissing. I see I already got a like. What's up? Whoever's in here, it's not telling me someone's in here though. But so I started looking into it, and so I ended up on this dude named Dewey's page, and he's like constantly attacking kung fu, and it started to get to me like you gotta watch it. People's energy transfers to you, and if you're hanging out with people who are like attacking other people all the time, being negative, when the situation doesn't require it, like if they're just like being bullies, then you gotta like really distance yourself, because like even me, like knowing all this stuff, it affects me. So I was like getting affected by his hatred towards kung fu, and so I was going to learn from him, but then I just couldn't stay. Like he wasn't really teaching anything. Like he made a couple teaching videos, and then he just made a lot of talking videos that were really not of any real value to, or about fighting or grappling and stuff. And he can't like really spar anymore. So whatever, I was getting tired of the hatred like affecting my mind, and then it was like making me hate jujitsu. And I was already kind of aware, like, well, the Shaolin monks clearly, like, they seem to have invented everything. If they didn't invent it, they reinvented everything. So I was sure that there was already grappling that was kung fu. It's just I didn't know what it was. And the I should turn this other music down. If I'm pacing back and forth, that's going to get picked up. Okay. Yeah, so I was sure it existed. Just my teacher taught me to snap joints, not to like slowly submit people. He just taught me to like break joints. So it's like really the same, but he just didn't like teach me a whole section of joint breakings, and I only paid attention to the ones I wanted, so I wanted to relearn. So the second I looked into it, like I was like, well, who do I look into? Because, these other people don't know what they're doing and are just hateful. And I was like, maybe Gracie is not. So I looked into Gracie. Hey, what's up, weed man? I looked into Gracie, and because he's the one everyone talks about. He's like the star of season 2 UFC, and probably season 3 as well. And maybe you guys can correct that. I might be off a season. Who really cares? I don't actually obsess over that stuff and watch it. I just had a friend who did when it was new. So, anyways, so I looked into Gracie, and it says right here, look, like, this is the first page. I wanted to find out from him where it came from. So, because this is like the first step to martial arts. Anyone who's teaching you a martial art and isn't teaching you like tradition is not teaching you martial arts. Like think of the story of Karate Kid, right? Everyone knows that story, right? Like that story is like the story of self-defense. It's a bunch of bullies who just want to go around beating people up, and then someone develop a system to defend themselves against it. That is the story of martial arts. Now, there's this westernized martial art thing where you just punch people in the head for cash, for $10. Like, don't even get fooled that they get paid cash for this. They're like monkeys who will punch and bite each other for like $10, and then their hospital bills cost like $700,000. I mean, clearly these type of fighters are not like educational intellects looking for a way to defend themselves. They're just like looking to get $10. They can't even do math. Like $10 is a lot less than $700,000 in medical bills. But I digress. We look into this, and so The first thing here, it says, history of Gracie Jujitsu. Jiu-Jitsu, the oldest martial art. Is it now? I'm not too sure I can agree with that. But it does say it. And he's pretty right. He is very close. Can be traced back to India, where it was invented by the Buddhist monks. Oh, right there. What is that saying? Okay, so being a person actually educated in Kung Fu and not just like a person who watched TV and learned to hate or learn to like Kung Fu magic. I know right away when you say the word monk, you're talking about my teachers, because those who my teachers are. So my teachers invented Jiu-Jitsu. The monks who invented Kung Fu invented Jiu-Jitsu. So there we go. It is solidified by the gods of Kung Fu. But the thing is you have these cults, which is what WWF wrestling and fake as shit and UFC. I'm sure that's so fake. Season 1 was so fake. It was obvious that was staged. And then learning more about all this, it's obvious they introduced Gracie as well for a design. And so that seems pretty fake. So it's like a cult following. Like everything develops a cult following. I've said this before. You can invent something really cool, and then 2 years later, like normal people are like obsessed with it. They have no idea the roots of what you were doing, why you're doing it, why you should do it, why you might not want to do it. And it just becomes a cult following. Like you invent something and the cult following takes it. So they invented, like the monks seem to invented like every modern thing. They're like really deep thinking people. They didn't like hang out and watch Jerry Springer all day like everyone else I know does. You know, they went out into nature and they studied nature and they learned how the human body works. And then, see, they weren't like savages like these MMA and boxing fighters are. They only went into this stuff because they were being invaded by these savages, by these boxers, MMA people, which is weird. They call it MMA, not Kung Fu. This is part of Western propaganda. Literally, Kung Fu is MMA. And they just divided it down. I believe even Bruce Lee commented on that. But again, the gods of the cults, which I actually didn't finish just a second ago, the gods of the cults preach a word, like Jesus, Bruce Lee, the monks, Gracie, will say something and it will never get through to the followers. The followers will never be able to understand that or know it. It's not like they just say, oh, I love Jesus. Oh, I love Bruce Lee. They don't have any idea what Bruce Lee said. They don't have any idea what Jesus said. No one has any idea what Jesus said. No one really has much idea what Bruce Lee said, because all you know is what's on what they allowed you to put on Hollywood. And even watching Bruce Lee's like best friend, you could say, he said that, well, they say a lot about Bruce Lee, but only he knows. He says, now maybe he's only selling his product, but I have to agree with the guy that Bruce Lee trained with the most, who he considered to be his best friend. Or at least, you know, we didn't ask Bruce Lee that, or I didn't hear him say that, but he said that, and that makes sense if he trained with him the most, and he's like telling you these secrets, but everyone else doesn't know this, because literally Hollywood has told you this or that, and fake martial artists who are just like, oh, I know Jeet Kune Do because I say I know it. They're like telling you one thing, and Bruce Lee lived by a different style. Like, so yeah, Bruce Lee even himself talked about these arts that he followed, Kung Fu, technically, Wushu, and all that stuff is just little derivatives of Kung Fu, like pretty much everything is. That's what this video is about. So here you have the first sentence here talking about the monks invented Jiu-Jitsu. So that's all that is. It's and it's probably a really dumbed down version of what the monks invented, because no one alive today has the intelligence that people used to have. They're all like slobs who just watch TV all day, and they don't like do anything. They don't really educate themselves, and everything's so skewed. Like I said, after 2 years after you invent a cult, it's completely skewed. You'll never find out the truth about what something is, because it gets taken over by Hollywood. It's like I kind of went along with some sort of underground subcultures at certain ages, and then they turned into like these all-inclusive type groups. Like, let's say, for instance, like the black metal scene. Like, it used to be a really cool scene with really cool stuff going on, and the music was shitty. And now it's like the opposite. And like no one could be in the old school black metal scene because no one was hardcore enough that I ever met. There was like 1 or 2 people I know who weren't scared shitless. I mean, some people, and then a couple people would do some of our stuff, but you could tell they were really scared and they didn't want to do it all the time. And then now black metal is like this all like happy, inclusive group that hates people who are like hardcore. And the same with punk, you know. It might have been the same with goth, although in America it was always pretty fruity. But even the fruitiness of it like lost its originality when the mainstream people got it. Like there are hundreds of millions of these people who are outcasts. It's like, yeah, I don't think you're an outcast if there's hundreds of millions of you, but just to re-edify that this is everywhere. Like every time you invent something, the original meaning gets lost. Everything everyone says about it, you really can't trust. You've got to do research yourself. You can't trust what anyone says. Like I accidentally do a lot of videos here where I don't show you like mountains of evidence like in physical form, and I knew like everywhere else I post I am showing you links. I'm not posting hardly a single word without some links to it. And like in my alt-right video, it's like complete, like that's where I wanted to go, but the camera has problems adjusting to backlights and stuff, so I wanted to use a board as a diagram and show you everything, but that didn't turn out as well as I thought it would after I invested a few $1,000s into that setup. So the group isn't really, none of these groups are really what they're about. They have no idea what they're talking about. Like a couple of these people, like I ended up following this Chewy Jujitsu dude, and he seems like, like he's not like full of hate and aggression. The odd thing is Dewey. He reminded me so much of my teacher. Like I think he is my teacher. I seriously do. Like I want to go meet him just to like prod him and be like, dude, you're Jay, aren't you? Like, why are you acting like your name's Dewey? And why are you acting like you hate Kung Fu and don't know Kung Fu when like you taught me it? But like seriously, like it was so hard because it's like I'm looking at my teacher and he's insulting him. But that's exactly what my teacher was too, except for he knew Kung Fu, so he knew what he was taught to him by monks. And he respected that, but in all other ways, he was this Western supremacist that is all everyone knows. Like no one even knows this word Western supremacist yet. It's in everything, and everything's tainted by this type of thinking. Like everyone is under the spell of the empire, the Hollywood brainwashing spell. Literally, Hollywood is the stick. Is the wood Druid used to cast spells, the wood of the holly tree. And they know this, so that's why they named it Hollywood. They know what they're doing. And so the propaganda you get is just to divide people. Like, the anti-yellow people propaganda is very low-key generally because they're scared of the yellow people, because whites and their Jewish masters see the yellow people as a people who can compete with them. And the yellow people do have a rich history of successful empires, should we say, but they call it, feudal times, and what else? The words slip my mind. The kingdoms. They call it the kingdoms. And, they just have a different word for it because the languages change as they spread out from the middle of the earth. And they change in different ways. So everyone has different ways of speaking and writing. And so they call it kingdoms and stuff like this. And, and they probably did use the word empire. But so much that's used just to describe the Western. So the hate of Kung Fu is actually part of the Western culture. Now, this isn't so much to like attack Westerners and stuff, but I'm just telling you how it works. When you tell someone how they work, like when I tell my cat it's a little aggressive motherfucker with an attitude problem, it's not that it's incorrect. When I had my dog, my husky, my wolf, Demon, when everyone else said it's a terror and it's destroying everything, they weren't incorrect. It's just, it doesn't want to hear that. Well, actually, Demon didn't care. But Demon would just smile and I would pet him. Yeah, good doggy, tear up the floor. They take that couch out to the trash where it belongs, Demon. Take that linoleum floor tile out to the trash where it belongs. Take that countertop in kitchen cabinet door out to the trash where it belongs. That's a weird anomaly though. Like generally, if I talk to a cat and I'm like, "Wow, cat, the claws are sharp. Maybe we should stop cutting me up and everything else." And the cat just looks at you like you're a freaking retard. It's like, what? And then it pulls out its claws and slashes you again. It's like that's the way they act. You can't tell them anything about them if it sounds like it might be hostile. If you're pointing out a flaw, a supposed flaw and so on. So the Western propaganda, it relies heavily on the brainwashing, the Hollywood, the magic spell of the empire. And this is just part of it. They want you to hate the yellow people. They want everyone to hate everyone. They want you to hate. It's not just it'd be white people. It'd be white supremacists who get all mad when I'm talking about this. But it's at the same time I'm telling you they want you to hate white people too. And it's well, there's only one group they don't teach you to hate, and that group, the Nazis who hate these Jewsies, they're actually the Jewsies. So they're fully protected at the end of the day. And so you can't talk about that group unless you're that group. And now you can talk about that group. You can't talk about the Nazis because they just hand that back and forth. Like I said, they're actually the Jewsies. So this is just part of the anti-yellow people propaganda, which has to be low-key because at best, they're mildly afraid of these people. I think it's quite much more than mild because look at how they treat the rest of the world. They just invade them carelessly they're scared to invade North Korea. They're in North Korea, supposedly according to Western propaganda, it's just a small place and no one likes them. And it's no, it's just part of China, dude. Get real. The yellow people will team together, unlike these black people who are easily conquered by invading Arabs and invading white colonizers because they were too busy fighting each other to team up against them and falling for the spells, the magic tricks, the magic words of deception. And the Arabs as well, they're kind of divided, but at the same time, a lot of that Arab division is just USA white supremacist propaganda and global Jewish supremacist propaganda, where they're actually staging the terror and staging ISIS, creating groups like ISIS and stuff to defend. And that's why they want to attack Iran so bad, because Iran would rather the people work together. And they have successfully done something with that nation and kept it from outside invaders. So the the anti-yellow people propaganda is much less on the outside because they're scared of these people. They can't just go, they're savages with them yellow skins. They always shooting and killing each other. And it's like that. You can't even make that propaganda up because the yellow people, they protect their internal information. So you don't really know what's going on in their nation. And second of all, they're not under a culture, Hollywood magic spell culture, where they're taught that they're gangbangers and they should be killing each other. So the government doesn't allow that because their government is highly aware of this stuff. I'm sure of it. I just can't research them because they isolate themselves from the Western so much. And this is why, because I'm sure it's because their government is aware the empire is trying to steal everything from them and kill their people off, just like the empire is trying to do to everyone. They can't do it to them. So the anti-yellow people propaganda is much more covert until you become educated enough to understand the chess pieces, their movement, and the playing field that those pieces are on. And then it becomes really easy to see, oh yeah, that's just anti-yellow people propaganda. So this anti-kung fu thing, they just want to steal everything. And this is another thing they do. The 14 trillion in debt is like, this is the only thing they've been able to do to China is steal their money from them. And they're like, oh, loan us some money, we'll pay you back. And whether scared or not, they loan USA some money. And so they owe them some money. So they steal from these people. Like the empire steals from everyone, though. It's not just yellow people, obviously, right? We're told they steal oil and they steal gold. And it's like, well, that's just a small portion of what's really going on. But yes, it's accurate. So why do they want you to hate Kung Fu? Why do they lie about Kung Fu? And most importantly, they're stealing Kung Fu. None of this stuff is reality based because the military, the Secret Service, the FBI, and higher up members of the SWAT team, and maybe even they attempt to teach your local police this stuff as well. They steal styles of Kung Fu to teach these people, but they don't tell you. But at the same time, they create the government propaganda to attack it and tell you it's shitty and all that. And if you're uneducated, you have no idea what you're doing. You're not actually involved in martial arts. You're not actually involved in learning about this stuff. Then you have no idea that when you watch someone do the knife edge, you're just watching something that was stolen from the Kung Fu people. And they're like, oh, that's karate or who knows what. But it's like, it all comes from the monks. Like this whole joint manipulation, they sat down and they studied the human body and they studied the world around them. And they had to apply that to destroy the humans who were invading their temples because the Chinese government wanted to take over, the governments of these lands want to take over the people, so they eventually had to learn how to fight. It's kind of like me, why would I have to learn how to kill people and fight people, break their joints, which parts of their bodies bleed out faster than others, which parts of their bodies are the weakest, which joints can be broken really easy, which joints are harder to break, the movement and motion. Like literally I have to learn most of this to defend myself from these people. And then they even make it illegal to do that. So the whole idea that there's some sort of self-defense in America is bullshit. The whole, there is no martial arts in America because there's nothing martial about this country. It's all just art. It's all just the TV show. And a drawing, a cartoon invented. You can't actually defend yourself. It's pointless to learn self-defense, but when you've been attacked when you're around these people so much, it's it's scary if you're a weak person, but I don't really feel fear. So it's just like it pumps up your adrenaline and gets your anxiety up. Like that's your natural chemical response. When you're not scared, you still get your heightened battle senses and stuff like that. So when you get that enough, you learn that some things should happen. And even then, I never went after this stuff. It was just pushed into my life. So I learned it because it was pushed into my life. And it's like, why would I learn something else anyways if this was being pushed into my life, right? Like, what am I going to learn? How to watch TV as good as everyone else does? Like, I already knew how to do that. I don't need to get better at it. Like, I couldn't get better at it, sadly. I probably did it more than everyone else has. And what else am I going to get into? Collecting with Barbies. Collecting male Barbies, aka G.I. Joes. That wasn't as fun. Like, you just smash them around and they shoot each other. That was fun when I was 6, right? But even when I was like 6, 8, everyone wanted to be a Ninja Turtle, get with Ernie Reyes, Kung Fu. Well, karate as he calls it. But I was given that, so I went after it. I didn't actually care to defend myself, but I learned shortly after that it's illegal to defend yourself in America, so there is no self-defense in America. None of their martial arts are about self-defense. None of their nation is about self-defense. They claim you can defend yourself with guns, and you can defend your house from invaders. You can't do any of that. That's a lie. Like, they are the invaders. Their government, who supposedly creates these laws, are the people who kill you and invade you and rob you and can do whatever they want to you. I'm sure they can rape you, but it seems the bigger guys on steroids aren't so much into raping little boys as some of the other people in this nation are. Many of the other people, should I say. So I accidentally got involved in all this stuff. Or I shouldn't say accident. None of this stuff's accidents. My life clearly is on some sort of design course, and I can't fight my way out of it. And why would I? Even though I'm like some sort of like really pretty highly trained fighter. But I wouldn't say so much as it's training as it's a gift I was given to just be super fucking vicious and super fucking strong. I don't, like all my talents, I don't credit to myself. I credit to whoever created me. And I don't mean like some fat, lazy piece of shit who watched TV and spread her legs and popped me out. Like, that person had about nothing. I can't even prove that happened. We're so much different. I don't even think that happened. Now, the male, on the other hand, is like definitely one of the most hardworking and intelligent people ever to grace a city with his presence. But in discipline and stable. I didn't even get that stability, though, right? It didn't come to me. So, I wasn't in charge of where my life was going. Like, most of the time, these Nazis and stuff will come and put me in cuffs and tell me where my life is going next. That is where half of my life has been these people robbing me and enslaving me. And now at this point, after all the years of robbery and slavery, like, I have no choice but to go on the attack. And the more scared they act, the more they cry and look like cowards when I get in their face, the more I smell blood and know to attack harder. And this is part of that attacking, like the education before the attack. See, they educated me long before they trained me how to fight, which none of you should be learning how to fight before you become educated, because you're just going to be an idiot. Attacking people don't know what you're talking about. You're like, I hate Kung Fu. Let's go learn these moves that the monks taught me. And it's like, Jesus fucking Christ, dude. Those monks invented Kung Fu. Like, what the hell? This is why my teacher stressed he taught me so much about intelligence and how the world works. He taught me that way more than he taught me how to punch brick buildings. And, he didn't even teach me to punch brick buildings. He said, all that stuff don't hit back. It only matters to fight a human. And, I took to punching brick buildings on my own. And, obviously I'm not throwing blades, learning guns, training guns against people. Any sort of weapon training generally was not done against other people. But other than that, he didn't believe in hitting bricks and stuff or anything not human. He said the knowledge you learn from that is useless because none of it fights back. And he's right. Like, I'm very limited in what I can do on a heavy bag. But that's kind of a good thing that I don't have sparring and all I have is heavy bag videos, because no one will know what I will do to them in a fight, in a real fight. And so you won't know which joints of yours to keep out of my grabbing distance. That's great. That's great for me because people love to take advantage of those weak points. And they love to, supposedly real fighters love to know that stuff. But I don't want to be a real fighter, aka get paid. Like, why would I get my brains knocked out? Like, I'm like this advanced intellect, put in advanced classes, advanced grades, scoring one of the highest in my nation. You know how dumb that would be for me to step in a ring and give someone the chance to be able to hit me and destroy that supercomputer. That's just so dumb. And none of you should do that either, because none of you, no matter how dumb you really are right now, no matter how worthless you feel you are, you have no idea. You could do so much more. Look at Muhammad Ali. He is, I would say he's like a 3-year-old, but as a 3-year-old, I was like an advanced adult. So he is like worse than a 3-year-old because he suffered so much brain damage, and that happens to pretty much all of them. But you can't really tell because for a while there, it was just black people in boxing, and so it seemed natural. People be like, dude, you're just stupid because they're black. It's like, because there's no schools in the black community and that you should attend, and there's, no education. They're teaching you, the Hollywood spell is teaching these people that they should be nothing but gangbangers, and they kind of should be because they're in the middle of a war zone nation, and that the only thing that makes people think that's not really happening is the Hollywood spell, like how great USA is, and it's full of that boxing and that wrestling. It makes you so intelligent and so peaceful, man. I hate to turn this into political, but it is. It's all political. That's why people hate Kung Fu, because they don't know it. Like, people hate Kung Fu because they're uneducated. That's why they hate it. And then that makes me think, how are these people selling a dojo and they're educating you when they don't even know what they're teaching you? Like here, Gracie, at this GracieJujitsu.com/history, the first thing they taught us, but I mean, if they looked into it more, they would. But they just, how are you a martial artist if you don't know your creed? Like, these people are supposedly such great fighters, so famous because they fought like once, and they're so famous because they got a YouTube channel, and somehow YouTube has given them millions of viewers, which it doesn't give anyone who says anything intelligent, but it will give it to you if you're part of Western propaganda, which is another suspect thing you should watch out for when, and I'm sure the Asians, like literally, if you read the flow of news, you'll see that the Chinese people are aware of these white people coming into their nation and trying to subvert it. And they are aware that the anti-kung fu propaganda is part of it. Like, the government itself outlawed kung fu. That's why no one knows it, because their teachers all ran to our nations and other nations. That's where my teacher's teacher comes from. He ran away from there because it was illegal. And he ran here to teach my student, my teacher, his student, his one student, aka my teacher. And I was one of two students of my teacher. And I think my teacher considered me the only real student. He was always like weird about the other one. I thought the other one knew more than me, but he always said weird things, like making me think that I was his only student. But the whole anti-Western point of view there, it comes shining through, especially when this Dewey guy does some propaganda about why the world loves USA. It's like, wait a minute, you're in China. Why are you talking about USA, first of all? And second of all, your propaganda video is all bullshit. It's all like, people love USA because they're really good people. You know, Jabba the Hutt's a really good person. You come to my nation, hold up a picture of Jabba the Hutt and walk around town. Let me know which ones, you know, if you think Jabba the Hutt comes from Asia or Jabba the Hutt comes from USA. Because I can tell you, I walk around, I can just walk outside, hold up that picture, and I'd be like, yep, Jabba the Hutt. I don't even think I got to go outside to get that far. But that's what it is. It's like a whole reality that doesn't exist because brainwashing has erased it. Like, all these moves these people are using, they're stealing from the Asians, and they're trying to shroud it in history. Like, even the Gracies call it the monks of India, and well, India's history, that's a year-long topic. That's a year-long topic. First of all, it's so old you can't discuss stuff that old because you have zero proof that ever happened. And you have zero proof the savages, we know who invaded that place and genocided the people there. We have zero proof that they are were being honest back then. And we have zero proof they're being honest today, especially when their government is passing laws that violate worldwide laws so their people can steal from the rest of the world legally stealing software and everything else from the rest of the world. And then those are the same people who call you up on the phone all the time trying to rob you. Like, they say it's the Nigerian scammers, but I've never had a Nigerian scammer call me up. It's always the people from that place. It makes me think that whoever invaded India and killed all the people there and turned it into India, the India we know for the last 1,000 years, it makes me think that those people are the so-called Jews, because it's like, as much as they call me trying to scam me, it literally sounds like it's them on the phone. They might as well call me up and say, hey, Shlomo, donate some money to Israel, because that's what it sounds like. So it's anti-Western propaganda, and you'll notice almost everyone pushing it is one of these Westerners. Never trust these people. That their whole skilo is to just lie and deny and then blame it on someone else. I'll say someone else did it. They're like, oh, the black people are savages. They're like, oh, the black people are the didn't do nothings. They literally created this label called didn't do nothing. And they're the dindus. They're the real dindus. They call them the dindus. And they're like, well, it's because blacks say they didn't do nothing. And it's like, well, I wonder who taught them that. When you say they're monkeys in suits copying off you by putting on suits, and it's like, I wonder who taught them how to say I didn't do nothing. It sounds like all the white people I know and have to deal with 24/7, they didn't do nothing. for a large portion, they're correct. They didn't do nothing. They just watched TV all day. And between their lies and their robbery attempts and their deception, like literally, I have this person who is about, like, there's always this phrase, dumber than a dog. And I hate that phrase because animals are so intelligent compared to Western USA white people. Like, an animal doesn't sit around and watch TV all day. It sits around and does nothing. So it probably thinks about chasing cars or balls or something. Who knows? Maybe it's thinking some complex, deep thoughts. But they're not dumber than a dog. They're way dumber than a dog. They're dumber than a log. Like literally, a log doesn't watch TV all day. And then again, pagans think trees are something special. You know, some people think a tree is like the oldest living thing on earth and this and that, and it holds magic powers. You never know. But they're like dumber than a rotting log. Like seriously, dude, I have this one who like snakes its way back into my life as often as it can. Like it tries to talk to me like all the time, but it really only can get close enough to talk to me like once every 2 years or less these days. Or in the old days, I was completely distant from it. But you always end up around some of these same people because they're like all kind of the same people. And it's like, it's so dumb. It probably scored like all F's in school, except for it probably sucked the teacher's dick to get a good grade. And it like tries to talk to me like I'm not a genius. It's like, what do you mean you're smart? It's like, oh yeah, you were too dumb to read all my test scores when I was little, because even if you were literate enough to read that test score, your brain isn't competent enough to understand what 99th percentile means, right? Like it's hard for you. It's hard for me to understand sometimes. It must be hard for everyone. It's hard for me to understand where someone else comes from. I think everyone else knows everything I do, but it just must be super confusing to be dumb or be miseducated. Miseducation is even worse than dumb. And like try to relate to a smart person, try to understand a smart person, because these are the people who literally went around saying I'm so smart when they're like 3 years old, 6 years old, 12 years old, 15, 18, 24. Like, I know everything. I'm going to work for the country. It's so good. Everything is so good and so great. The world's happy and joyous. And it's like, man, these are the same motherfuckers pushing this type of propaganda. People who you should watch out for. People, and I'm not sure who I can reach, because I've tried teaching people even simple things, and they become like hateful of like learning anything. Like, and incompetent too. Like the person I was just speaking of is a good example. And what happens is, I've known them for like decades, and they say like the same 6 things over and over for like decades. And it's like, Jesus Christ, I haven't seen you in 10 years, and you're saying the same useless 6 words you said 10 years ago. Your brain is still filled with shit from the 1950s. And not even like a lot of shit either. You haven't filled it with like a toilet full of diarrhea. You've just got one little squirt of diarrhea in your empty skull. So someone made a comment on my page the other day, space doesn't exist, because we was talking about space, and I was like, I don't know about NASA being real and all that stuff. And they're like, space doesn't exist. It's like, oh yeah, space does exist though. It just exists inside people's heads. And that's where these anti-kung fu people are living. They're living in space, in the space in their head. And they're just like, ooh, blah, 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 blah. But what all I just said, highly accurate, highly factual, highly reality based, even showing you right here on the page, where it was invented by the Buddhist monks, the Shaolin monks. Later they call it Shaolin monks, but it doesn't matter if they were Shaolin or not. They're the Buddhist monks, and I'm sure it's all the same stuff. It is. My teacher taught me about it, and it's just like, it's way more than my teacher could teach. It's way more than my teacher could know, but he knew a whole lot. It's way more than any one monk could probably know. The facts I back this up with, indefensible how these people attack it. But it's just, they do just a small bit of defense, and that's like, well, everyone acts like white supremacists, but they're just not all white, so, whatever. And the spell of Hollywood has brainwashed everyone's mind. And it's like, yeah, well, that's true. And this Dewey guy, who we're using as an example, because lots of people know him, and he's a perfect example. He's displayed everything I've just told you. He also talks about Hollywood movies and reviews Hollywood movies. So there you go. I have completely broken this down with facts, and it can't be refuted. Go ahead, refute in the comments, or debate, discuss, whatever you want to call it. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I'm wrong 10% of the time. Look at that. All these other people aren't going to tell you they're wrong ever. But I'm wrong 10% of the time, so we can adjust those facts and I can correct them. But what I just said is exactly what's going on in so many ways. In everything, every single thing you think and know, apparently the whole world across, except for Asians, who government protects their people and keeps Western USA and USA propaganda out of their people's minds, from infecting their people's minds. Everyone is brainwashed by this. I've noticed, no matter what nation they're in, they worship USA. And there's several reasons. Again, those several reasons are Hollywood, brainwashing, which is the same as the internet. It's the internet brainwashing. They don't allow people like me to educate people. They only allow people like Dewey to spread Western propaganda. And I think Dewey seems like a government agent at the end of the day. This is like their typical tactics. And like, even the Chinese government has said they think that the U.S. government is behind some of this. So, is behind the anti-Kung Fu. And they were the people who outlawed Kung Fu. And now they're like, yeah, wait a minute, the Westerners are using it to attack us. And so I think they're dead on. And this, of course, is why the American government, Israeli government-ran YouTube propaganda center allows him to get so big, probably because he's working for them, right? He's either a willing dupe who works for them, or he is one of them. But he's likely one of them, because who else is one of them? Like, you can see some of these other fighters look like military meatheads. So you can see Patrick Little looks like a military meathead, and he's told you he's been in the military. So, except for the only reason that would make you think he's not been in the military is he weighs like 90 pounds. But that's because the military has positions of information operatives, and the information operatives don't have to be loaded up with steroids and human growth hormone, and they're probably just given the methamphetamines, and the other hyper substances which they wish could induce logic and thinking into their people. But I can assure you, from them force feeding it to me, that it doesn't actually improve us or change us too much. But yeah, you can see it's just part of the spell. It's just part of the Western propaganda. Why everyone hates Kung Fu. You can look at all these people bashing it, and look at their commenters. The commenters are always a good example of what's going on a page. Like on my page these days, you get people who are asking questions and questioning things. And a lot of those Israeli trolls I've scared off. I haven't scared them off. They're still there. Every now and then they talk, but they're scared to talk, which is good. Remain in silence, coward. It lets me know I'm doing right when you accidentally let me know you're still there 10 years later, but you haven't been able to completely ban me from one platform, but you have every other one. But it's just Western propaganda, right? That's all this is. And they're stealing it. They're just like they're stealing all the money from Asia. Who knows what else they've been stealing from the Asians. But the Western propaganda is so against the Asians. Like when that FBI agent came into my life trying to recruit me to hang out with Donald Trump before he ran for president. That person was like very anti-Asian. That was one of the things that cued me into that person wasn't actually who they said they were, because I knew that the underlying tone in white USA is the Asians are demons, they need killed, but they're scared of those words, because if you say those words out loud, you're going to have a real war. It's not just, like they know it's if they go to war against Asia and China, if they end up going to war against China, it's not against those dirty brown people who they successfully conquered in like 10 seconds of invading Africa. They know that that's a real opponent, Iran and China. And they say Russia is too, but they took over Russia in the Bolshevik slaughter. So I think that's them trying to brainwash China and Iran that Russians are on their side, so they let the vampire in. You got to let the vampire in for it to sink its teeth into your household family members' necks. So this is just more of the same that it's always been. And of course, will this video get uploaded? Who knows? I should have recorded on several portions. I forgot about that. Man, I forgot these scumbags are attacking me on so many levels. But look, they're not attacking these other scumbags. I'm telling you, people like Dewey have a lot of work and effort going into their stuff. All these pro-Western thievery channels, they have a lot of work going, and it's not their hard workers. Look at Dewey's body. Look at these half these fight channels are scared to show their bodies. They're not hard workers. Jesus fucking Christ. It takes 2 years to start looking like me. If you can't fucking work out look, you got Practical Combat Martial Arts, Sergio. He has lost weight like in a matter of nothing. He just lost weight. It's like, wow, dude, you're really doing something. You've really reduced your calories and probably increased your cardio at the same time. And then who is that? I've seen a few other people. Red Chucks. He's gained strength quickly. Over a little bit. And Pete Brooks, man, Pete Brooks is strong, and he grew real fast. But these other people, man, a lot of these top channels, they're not strong at all. They don't look like they've ever trained. And that, again, points back to people like Patrick Little, like government agents who aren't on steroids and HGH. They're actually not training hard. It only takes a couple years of training to get to where you look like a sick, mutated person, even if you're not on steroids. Like, people look at me crazy because of my shape and the way clothes hang from my body and stuff. It really kind of depends on what I wear as to what it looks like. But these other people don't look like they've been working out at all, even though they're making videos about working out. There's a huge difference between people who are training, people who are working out, and people who are trying to train you. Sure, when you have a master, my teacher was not he was not in tip-top form when he taught me, and these days he's more like Sammo Hung. So he's definitely wasn't in tip-top form last time I seen. That could have changed. But he told me, and clearly by his skills, he knew a lot. But he also told me he just got done with steroids long before that. And because all these true martial artists, Bruce Lee, are heavily involved into taking the herbs of the earth to enhance their fighting. Even Bruce Lee talked about all that stuff, and some might argue that's what killed him. But hey, he died doing things, and no one else is doing anything. So it's better to die at 40 as Bruce Lee than it is to live to 100 as Jabba the Hutt. Your life is your life. Like, you can't ever argue someone died young because they made a bad choice. It's like they actually, most of these people actually live life. So using the drugs is not far off. Yeah, my teacher said he did something. My teacher advocated drug use all the time, constantly. I mean, he was like a drugged up hippie, basically, like Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee, wow, I was so surprised when I learned that. But then again, I really wasn't, because I was already being taught by people who were trained by monks. And like, I'm telling you, 98% of my time with my teacher was not about martial arts fighting. Now, he taught about other fighting, like large-scale gangs and large-scale kidnappings and torture and crazy shit. I mean, crazy stuff, like only the most hardcore people know about. He talked about all sorts of stuff, Terrence McKenna type stuff, whatever. He's the one who got me to try acid. I mean, basically, yeah, these people really do use all this stuff. I should avoid talking about that too much on these videos. But it's, the anti-kung fu isn't, and who am I talking to? Because I think most people know this, and the white people generally fucking hate me because I expose their secrets there. But that's all it is. Kung Fu is everything. Even if Kung Fu didn't invent it, there's a system of it that has that. So all these styles, Muay Thai, etc., they're little fractions of what the monks taught. Like, the monks invented, and thousands of styles, that, like, distinct styles, at least in the hundreds distinct. Now, you only have so many human motions your body can do, so you're probably not tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of unique styles, but hundreds of thousands of moves, I'm sure. But you can only do so much with your body. And the monks studied this. The monks knew this was the only way to fight. Like, and meanwhile, meatheads and propagandists trying to lie to you and deceive you, they tell you something else. Like, they're like, oh, punch. That's all there is. Punch. And oh, keep your hand up so you don't get hit. Literally, it's like 3-4 moves. They dumb the human body down into something that, press a remote button. Here's your choices in America. You can punch someone. Nowadays, since UFC reality TV show came out, you can grapple someone, you can hug them. It brought wrestling back. It was basically a follow-up to wrestling. So it's not that Gracie taught people to grapple. Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant taught people to grapple. And man, the only reason I didn't learn any of that stuff from my teachers because it's super gay. They forced me into wrestling, and I went there, and I was like, at school, and I was like, you guys are super gay. I'm not touching a single one of you because I only touch women. And everyone even said our wrestler guy who looked like Arnold Schwarzenegger, or the lead singer of Manowar, most likely, everyone even said Phil is gay. And that makes sense because he's a leader of this wrestling, grappling, male-on-male hugging contest. And I even do that stuff naturally in a fight. Like, I don't even know what I'm doing, and I will wrap you up and pull you close to me and make you think you're winning. It's like when I'm in a fight with someone, it's a mind game. Literally, I'm meditating and creating a diversion as my first rules. Although I don't like to fight at all. And I'm just forced to because I'm in this violent culture, which is it's not less violent than other places, or it wasn't when I was a kid. They lie and they hide it. Just like this whole video is about lying and hiding and then stealing. All this stuff is just them stealing Kung Fu and then telling you they invented it. Oh, it was invented by Andre the Giant and Hulk Hogan. Because that's real. Wrestling is real. Not some fake TV show. That's who invented grappling. Clearly, it wasn't the monks that the inventors of the Jujitsu said it was. Or the inventors of the modern famous Jujitsu that make that statement accurate. So it turns into the same thing my entire channel is about. That's how I can know about this. That's how I know what's going on here. And that's the reason why I'm discussing it, because it's the same thing my channel is about. It's about Western global supremacy, aka white supremacy with Jewish masters, taking over everything and stealing everything. It's their culture. It's not their culture. It's their racial makeup mixed with their culture. The racial makeup is the lower underlying cause for all this thievery and deception. That's how they win. It's how they work. It's how the empire is built. They come knocking on your door and they're like, ooh, you've got Kung Fu. What is that? And then you might find a Chinese person dumb enough to teach you. And then you take it back home and you're like, ooh, we're going to call this boxing. And you're like, oh, boxing's so good. Kung Fu's stupid. And you're like, yeah. You know, it might be the same exact thing. Like I clearly demonstrate in my videos. The only thing I show you is, I guess I show you a lot. But mostly what I show you is Shaolin fist fighting, which probably looks a hell of a lot like boxing, because boxing is basically one tiny, minuscule sect of Kung Fu. And the joint manipulation of Jujitsu is just one small mechanical part of the monk's teachings. It is almost enough to be its own little sect there. But in reality, you can only fall victim to grappling if you're a piss poor fighter. And I mean, serious, like, maybe you're trying to grapple and you're just facing a better wrestler, grappler, and you've never done this yourself. But if you let a grappler grab you, it's because you're a piss poor fighter. That's why we can assume that it's easy, well, along with part one of UFC being fake and gay and totally staged, obviously. Jeff Foxworthy even participated in it. That was really fake. Or it was his cousin or something. It sure looked exactly like him. So we could see that in season 2, they merely allowed the grappler to win because it's fake and gay. Like this is one of my teacher's first and most consistent rules. He didn't know anything about UFC when I learned. This stuff didn't exist really yet. And none of this topic wasn't discussed because it was before this stuff existed as a mainstream topic. I was being taught this. And he just basically, like, one of his most important lessons was how to defeat a grappler. He didn't say how to defeat a grappler because that's like what you guys say, but he just told the story of how he beat up someone who thought they were good. And it's simple. It's like, you just don't let a grappler touch you, and you're an idiot if you do that. You break their fingers. But you can't do that in UFC because it's fake and gay. It's stage show. They're cowards. They're scared of death. They're scared of having their joints destroyed. So also you can't hit them in the back of the head. So when a grappler rushes you, you can't punch them in the back of their head. And that's how Mike Tyson wins fights, because he would do this ultra stupid low duck that it would be illegal if you hit him while he did that, because it would be his weak point. You would be hitting and you could kill him. So it all ties back in to this. It's the same thing. Why does everyone think Kung Fu is magic, but yet everyone in USA is using Kung Fu? They're just stealing it and then saying it's theirs. So, like, literally they're going to tell you USA invented opium, USA invented marijuana, they stole, they genocided the blacks, enslaved them, stole their land, and made it illegal for Jamaica to sell marijuana so they could then later corner the market of marijuana. Just like they're genociding the Arabs now, and they're burning down their opium fields. So only the UK, and then creating more opium fields in the UK. So only the white empire, which is not just USA, it's USA, UK, Australia, and apparently much of Europe. If not all of it, although it's definitely UK, USA, Australia, Israel, and Rome. So we have those places, and they're cutting off the supply. They're stealing everything from everyone they can, and then they're marketing after they've brainwashed you and threatened to kill you if you speak out against it, or killed you if you speak out against it, like Gaddafi and Malcolm X and many others. Probably, Rockefeller. Not Rockefeller, but Rockwell. It's likely Lincoln Rockwell was killed because he was trying to teach white people to, not be trash, which, would really be against some of the fucking propaganda out there. You couldn't, coexist with not being trash and coexist with America is number one. Or USA is number one. They don't think America is number one. No one does. It's USA everyone worships. And it's not even America. It's just a global empire. It's just Rome under a new name. They're not even Americans. So, ties back into the same thing. They're just stealing they're just stealing everything they can from everyone. And they're like, that's mine. It's like a little spoiled 3-year-old, which I hate to insult dogs and 3-year-olds, because at 3 years old, I was like an adult. So it's incorrect to insult a 3-year-old, because some 3-year-olds are smarter than we will ever be by the time they are 3. And some people are, just as dumb as they're ever going to be by the time they're 3 as well. So it's hard to say it's dumbass, but it's just really ignorant propaganda. But I guess a 3-year-old is like, no, mine. We relate that to that. But it's not a 3-year-old. This is a nation of 3-year-old bullies. It's a bully. It's bully propaganda. That's what it is. It's hard to scapegoat. It's hard to walk out of the bully propaganda, right? Because what am I going to do? Take out for bullies? So it's just bully propaganda. They steal everything from everyone. USA, the Western Empire, the Roman Empire, whatever you want to call it. You got to recognize it's more than just USA, because they're going to run away to Israel. They're going to run away to UK or Australia, one of their other stolen land home bases. isn't real, just like isn't real. They're all just mirror images of one another. They're just bullies. They no, don't do this. And like I said, you got to watch it for it if you don't want to be a bully, because if you're not a bully, you will quickly become one if you start listening to these people. It infects me, and I'm like really good at deflecting their propaganda and their idiocy and seeing through them. But if you even know that they're demons, you will fall for the propaganda if you listen to it. Like I said, I was watching Dewey for a while because I wanted to learn Jujitsu, but he had like the hateful propaganda, and it began infecting me. It began making me hateful and stuff, and aggressive, and bringing out the parts of me I wouldn't really want to, like, remain parts of me that I would like to keep in the past. Completely erase if I could. But I guess they've made me who I am, so I shouldn't deflect the stuff that has made me the ability to fight back demons. Because to fight back a demon, you're going to have to learn how to wield a sword. And you're probably going to hurt yourself and maybe some other people when you're learning how to wield a blade. And you've never used a blade if you don't think that's going to happen, because I've got plenty of cuts right now, and I've been playing with blades for a long time. So it just happened. I got a broken mirror I'm looking at right now, and I knew seconds before I broke it that putting my knives right there was going to be a problem. So I threw a knife straight at it, just as expected, because you learn these. In order to learn these demons, you're going to have some bad. So try to embrace the little bit of bad that you have, but don't allow it to seep in when you can, right? Like, don't allow these people's hate for kung fu or brown skin or yellow skin or opium or marijuanas or alcohol, don't allow their hate for humans and their greed to set into you, because that's really the underlying goal to all this propaganda, is to turn you into a demon too, to make you hate for them and be their little soldier slave. Like, who are you going to be? Are you going to be a slave, or are you going to be something better?